We had the UK High Commissioner here earlier, and he said that one of the reasons why, despite all their red lines and differences, the countries came together was because of the growing power of India. And as the host and the president of the G20, nobody wanted to be on the wrong side of India. How do you think that India's rise from being a middle power to an emerging global power played a role in ensuring that even those who weren't fully on board, who later got castigated when they went back to their countries, couldn't afford to say no and draw a stronger, starker red line?
No, I think it's a very important point that he's making, and that's the elevated stature of India. And the stature and the standing of the Prime Minister as the leader. And that's simply because we are now the 5th largest economy in the world. We'll be the 3rd largest economy in the world in the next 3 to 4 years. The fact is that in the last 7 to 8 years, we've made 40 million houses, which is like making one Australia. We've provided 110 million toilets, which is like making one, providing everybody in Germany a toilet. We've given 243 million piped water connections, which is like giving a water connection to everybody in Brazil. And we've done about 88,000 kilometers of road. I mean, unbelievable what India has achieved. So that's why the Bank of International Settlement has said that what India has achieved in 8 years' time is what India should have normally achieved in 50 years' time. We've achieved that in 8 years' time. We do about 11x more digital fast payment than what United States and Europe do. We do 4x more than China does. So it's the elevated stature of India, and I think the fact that Prime Minister had already had a very successful visit to the United States, his personal equations were very good with the United States, and the fact that he had been to East Asia before, and the third is that he was absolutely clear as the leader that we have to succeed. And that was the decisive nature. You know, I'm merely a Sherpa to a leader. A Sherpa can be as good or as lousy because depending on the leader. So the leader was very clear that India's G20 must deliver an action-oriented and a decisive G20, and that's what we've managed to do.
You know, one of the things I wanted to do with Mr. Kant during this session is to get him to tell us stories as the ultimate insider that we don't know. Okay, so now this is the challenge. The things we know, now you have to tell us what we don't know. Who's the most brutal, toughest, meanest negotiator you came across?
So let me tell you, all of them are very tough, but on different areas, different subjects. You know, it was very tough negotiating with China on several issues. Some of it, actually, you people are aware of. You know, on issues of Vasudev Kutumbakam, on issues of life, on issues of women-led development. But we built up a very good equation with the Chinese Sherpa. I mean, it was a very good personal equation and their team. And eventually, you know, China, whatever may be our bilateral relations, China is a multilateral player. Once they realized that all emerging markets are with India, and we had a team of 9 emerging markets working with India, they said, we'll work with India, and they eventually managed.
But Xi Jinping did try and play spoil sport, choosing to sit out of this big conference, almost wanting to trip the summit over.
Rahul, I think it was the best thing that happened for G20.
Why?
Because I was in Indonesia, in Bali, and Xi Jinping came and had a meeting with Mr. Biden. That went on for about 2.5 hours. And the G20 summit was totally eclipsed by the bilateral meeting between Xi Jinping.
ASEAN summit?
Yeah. No, last year's G20.
Okay.
Last year's G20. So it was totally eclipsed. That became the centerpiece. I mean, the intention here was, we are doing a G20. Let's keep, the Prime Minister's focus was on G20. And let's drive G20. What we've managed to do is, we've made G20 the strongest force in the world. It's not a divided house anymore. We made it the voice of multilateralism. We made it the voice of developing countries. We made it the voice for women-led development. We made it the voice of digital transformation. All this we managed to do by putting focus on G20 and not on bilateral issues.